Hey, what's up guys? John here. We're stepping into a massive crash in the economy. A really big pullback. I think most people are not ready for what's to come. People think that we could see a situation where we pull out of this, where everything kind of works out. We just continue going back up. And then at that time, everyone can then pull their money out of the market and finally go unscathed. A lot of people are hoping that happens, and it is possible. In this country, in this economy, who knows? They may just print more and more money, but I don't think they're going to, because that's not a solution. What I think is ultimately happening is we're witnessing the biggest rug pull in the economy in history. We're going to see so many people lose so much money. It is going to be unreal. We're stepping into, I think, one of the biggest recessions that we've ever seen. Some would call it a depression. Now, I'm not saying this to scare anybody. I'm just looking at the core facts. That's what I like to look at, factual data. I like to really understand it and understand what's happening in the economy and understand where we're actually going as a society to make smart financial decisions. That's my intent. That's my goal with this video. I'm going to lay out all the facts. I'm going to lay off with I'm going to leave everything out that is based on, potentially a black swan event, which could happen. A Russia-Ukraine problem, any type of cyber attack, any of that stuff. We'll see what happens with that. But sticking to the core facts, it's really concerning, really concerning. So please hit the like button and share this video with everybody. The more people that know what's going on, the better, the more educated everyone is about really the scope of the problem that we're in. So right now, America, we have 334 million Americans, right? I'm going to first give you a broad overview of what's happening, and then I'm going to zone in on where we're actually headed. So 334,596,000 Americans, right? And people over 18, 258 million, right? Okay, 258 million. And the average student loan is $32,731. Most people that went to college over the last 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, they thought they were going to be stepping into a six-figure income or a lot of opportunity. But now what we're seeing is these opportunities aren't what they were a few years ago. And so we're going to see a lot of people sitting in college debt that they simply cannot afford to pay on, right? They cannot afford this debt. And the average debt is $32,000, right? And the range is between $25,000 and $50,000. And this is impacting 46 million Americans. 46 million Americans, which is about 18% of the overall general population over 18 years old, right? And the average American right now, only 56% of Americans can afford to cover a $1,000 expense. The result found 56% of Americans cannot afford to cover a $1,000 expense. Forget inflation, forget all these problems. Only 44% of Americans can afford a $1,000 expense, right? That is crazy to me. You think, how many people are going to be investing in Shiba Inu? How many people are going to be investing in random crypto coins? How many people are going to be investing in stocks when stocks are already falling? When people, before, what was funding the crypto market in large part was the mania, the expectation that you're going to make 5x or 10x gains, and the fact that it was free money. A lot of people are, investing stimulus. They're investing unemployment money. They're investing PPP money. They were investing money that they got for free. And so people, they were sitting at home and they just had the money and they were investing, and everyone was so hooked on the trend with Wall Street bets and all the excitement around AMC. Everyone was just thrilled with what was happening in the world, right? That's all getting pulled out. It's getting sucked out of the market. We have that results. Only 44% of Americans can cover a $1,000 expense, not factoring in for any inflation, right? That's insane to me. Average credit card debt. Just according to Credit Karma, these are just Credit Karma accounts, $329 billion in credit card debt across more than 279 million accounts, right? Average debt's around $5,585. Now, credit card debt as a whole in America, we're sitting at $856 billion. $856 billion in outstanding credit card debt and margin debt across stocks, across crypto. There's so much debt in the markets. The more the markets come down, the more people are going to get margin called, and the more people are simply going to panic sell. And what we're seeing here is that we're seeing car loan statistics will make you want a bicycle. This came out in March of this year, so about 2 months ago. And we scroll down here, it says total auto loan debt increased 59% of the last decade. Car loans account for 9% of student loan or consumer debt. Americans originated 27 million new auto loans since 2018. The average auto loan debt's $26,000. 4.7% of outstanding auto loan debt are seriously delinquent. The average price of a car is New cars 37,000, and the average monthly car payment is rising year over year. What's going to happen when they continue increasing interest rates? Auto payments are going to continue going up. Auto loan debt is growing, and on average, the car loan term is 69 months, right? And 85% of new cars are financed. So we're stepping into this student loan, this auto loan bubble, right? And household debt is skyrocketing, given thanks to rising real estate prices as well. And now what we're looking is, if the Fed announces that that's raising interest rates, you could expect to encounter more expensive loans or see interest rates rise on any variable rate loans that you may have, right? Okay, well now, how many rate hikes are coming in 2022? Right now, Fed Williams, 50 BPs, interest rate hikes going to be coming, so basis point hikes coming at the next two meetings. Makes sense. Big winners and losers from the Fed's interest rate hike. Policymakers back rate hikes as Biden puts faith in the Fed, right? So they're going to continue increasing rates to combat inflation at this period as they hit quantitative tightening and pull money out of the market, right? How many rate hikes are left? Federal Reserve approves first interest rate hike in more than 3 years, sees 6 more hikes ahead. The Fed approves a 25% base, a 25 BPS percentage point hike, first increase since December 2018, right? That was March. So they did one in March, and then they did one last month. We have about 4 more hikes set, between 4 and 5 more hikes set. And they're talking about a 50 basis point hike next meeting, right? In the next 2 meetings. Now what we're saying is property insurance. Home valued under $1 million saw average insurance rates increase 5.3% in the first quarter of 2022, while houses valued at more than $1 million saw a 7% increase during that period. So what we're having is all consumer debt get more expensive. We're having insurance costs go up. And where this is all leading is what's happening to the actual economy, right? Like it's one thing to have all this debt. If you can manage it, if you can service it, that's one thing, okay? But now what percentage of the U.S. works for small business? 47.5%. 47.5%. So how many Americans are employed by small businesses? Nearly half of Americans are employed by small businesses. This means that 58.9 million Americans, employees in the U.S., work for a small business. And how many small business owners are there? Not just the employees, the actual business owners. 31.7 million. 31.7 million. And this announcement came out 2 days ago. It said Fed official says he doesn't buy the Great Resignation, suggests employers play up labor shortage to avoid paying higher wages. Now, it's one thing to say that people deserve more money, but it's another to actually to look at the economy and see where businesses stand right now. Small businesses have been hit in every direction, whether it be rising costs through inflation, rising taxes, everything's getting more expensive. The supply chain problems, things are getting more and more challenging for small businesses. Meanwhile, large corporations, they have the budget, they have the revenue in which they can, fulfill a 6-figure type of salary for an employee or for, a truck driver. Walmart's paying $110,000 for a truck driver. How can a small business compete with something like that? They can't, right? So what they're doing is they're really pinpointing and blaming small business owners for all the problems that we're having right now with the Great Resignation. When in reality, remember all these small businesses, they weren't, essential, right? Now they are the problem, right? Meanwhile, the large corporations that can afford all of this, 6-figure pays, these corporations, they've been expanding and expanding and expanding their organizations. They've been building out their own shipping and distribution. They've been growing their companies like wildfire, and now they can afford to do whatever they want. Meanwhile, small businesses are getting crushed. And we look at, just to give you an example, let's say, for example, you own a restaurant, right? In this restaurant, you have 5 full-time employees. You're paying them each $15 an hour. That's $12,000 a month, right? If they work 40 hours a week, they're all full-time. And then you have one manager paying $20 an hour. It's $3,200 a month, right? And then the lease at that restaurant is $3,500. Workers' comp, insurance, payroll, $1,000 per month. Utilities, water, gas, let's just call it a flat $500. That's on the low end. We'll just call it $500. Total cost monthly without food, no cost for actual food, anything that you're actually selling, or any items to sell, and without paying any taxes is $20,200, right? Now let's say you sell a dish for $20. You only sell one dish for $20. You only sell one dish at your restaurant. and the business owner's profit margin is 25%, they'd have to sell 4,040 dishes or 135 dishes a day, 7 days per week, no days off, just to break even. And this doesn't even include the cost of the ingredients on the dish that you're selling, right? 4,000 of these dishes. And by the way, the boss, the business owner, has not yet profited a single penny, not a dollar, right? And so how can small businesses stay afloat in this type of environment? That's the big question. I'm really looking at this. Carvana, for example, they cut 2,500 members as it struggles with overcapacity. We look at, Amazon right now, they're going through layoffs. And we look at Meta's going through layoffs as well. And now Biden, he just canceled the Alaska oil and gas lease. Now, what is this going to do? What is this going to do to the overall economy? It's going to do a couple things. Now what we're going to likely see is rising gas prices, because here's what's going on. The Biden administration has canceled one of the most high-profile oil and gas lease opportunities pending before the Interior Department. The decision was halts the potential to drill for more oil over 1 million acres in the Cook Inlet in Alaska comes at a challenging political moment when gas prices are hitting painful new highs. In a statement shared with CBS News, the Department of Interior cited a lack of industry interest in leasing in the area for the decision to not move forward with the Cook Inlet lease sale. The department also halted 2 leases under consideration for the Gulf of Mexico region because the conflicting court ruling that impacted work on these proposed lease sales. Federal laws require the Department of Interior to stick with a 5-year lease term plan for auctioning offshore leases. The administration had until the end of the current 5-year plan, set to expire at the end of the month, to complete the lease sales. Until now, the White House has remained silent about the massive Alaska lease. However, canceling the sale would be in keeping with the political promise of President Joe Biden made in the name of halting global warming. But the promises have become a political challenge in the face of prices at the pump. Now again, this came out today, a couple hours ago. So we're going to likely see continuing prices at the pump. Everything's going to get more and more and more expensive, whether it be through transportation, food costs. Everything's going to get passed down to the everyday American, right? So as that's happening, I think where we're actually headed is we're going to be heading into an environment where we're going to start to see more and more people that are going to be pushed out of work because small businesses, they're not going to be able to afford it. And when they're not going to be able to afford it, they're going to issue mass layoffs. And as that happens, there's going to be more and more reason for a universal basic income. As of now, they're pushing it in 23 different cities and states. It's happening everywhere. Here's a few: Alaska, Pittsburgh, Columbia, Chicago, New Orleans, Newark, New York State, Rochester, Shreveport, Durham, California. I mean, it's happening. It's happening everywhere. So they're going to be moving in this direction. And this universal basic income, how is it funded? How will the universal basic income work? UBI will guarantee every citizen within a governed population a regular payment from the government with enough money to live on. Most UBI plans would be funded by tax revenues and would either supplement or replace existing welfare programs, meaning taxes are going to be going up. They're going to be going up. Right? It's going to be going up mainly for small business owners, not for large corporations, because large corporations, they can invest in their infrastructure, they can bring down their bills, and they can offshore. They're going to find ways in which they can, depreciate a lot of their revenue so that they can position themselves well. The average reading level in America is only 7th to 8th grade level. Now, this is where we're actually headed as a society. There's this robot in New Jersey that I'm sure you guys have all seen this online. But this robot will seat you at your table. It will, it'll bring you your food. It will do everything. You could ring it at the table and it will come. It'll do everything, right? And this robot, it costs $999 a month, right? So the traditional employee would cost you twice, and you won't have to go through a situation of hiring and going through I hope they show up, or monitoring them. They're just going to work all day, every day, no lunch break, 7 days a week for $9.99 a month. Right? You can't beat that. $250 a week. That's what's happening. This is where we are headed. And we look at what Elon Musk is saying. Musk says robots aimed in 2023 will be worth more than Tesla's car business. And this robot is to get rid of boring and tedious tasks, and the cost is about $10,000. Right? So where are we headed as a society? I think we're headed in a place where most people are going to get much more defensive. We're going to leave this, this euphoric type of stock market environment, crypto environment, where people are so excited about investing, people are going to get to defensive mode. They're going to get really down to brass tacks, and they're going to look to defend the money that they have and really shelter it from loss. That's where I think we're headed. And as we continue increasing interest rates every single meeting, what's ultimately going to happen is that it's going to push more and more and more people to poverty. Now we say, they said 56% of Americans have less than $1,000. What do you think is going to happen at the next Fed meeting when rates go up? Or what about the meeting after that, or the meeting after that? It's going to go from 56 to 60 to 65 to 70. It's going to continue. And the division between the rich and the haves and have-nots is going to be never greater. And that's what we're ultimately going to be witnessing. We're going to be witnessing the fallout of the middle class, and we're going to be likely witnessing large corporations and small businesses doing everything they can do to stay competitive. What they're going to do is they're going to bring in AI, they're going to bring in robotics. They're going to do this because as the costs continue to rise, do you think a small business owner is going to be able to afford to pay their employee a living wage, which might be $35 an hour? At $35 an hour or $30 an hour, one of these big figures, you know how much money that a business owner would have to extract from that employee for them to even be able to pay that employee, right? We have to look at the actual numbers. They're not going to be able to afford this. And it's going to push everyone to this universal basic income. There's no doubt about it. We're going to start to see unemployment in this country at levels that people can't imagine. What are your thoughts on all this? Where do you think this is all going? Do you think we're going to see a mass layoff? And do you think we're likely going to see a very, very big shift in consumer confidence in this country? Drop your comments below. Let's have a conversation about this. Hit the like button. Subscribe here. Also subscribe to my second YouTube channel. And on my LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, everything's in the banner. Catch you guys later.